The Clone Wars was a very bloody conflict, and even though it only lasted for 3 years, it saw countless planets destroyed in that time. Peaceful backwater worlds were turned into sprawling battlefields where tens of thousands of troops were thrown into the meat grinder by the Republic and the CIS, all because they were unlucky enough to be valuable in some way to the war effort. Such was the case for the planet we'll be talking about today. You've likely never heard of the Battle of Atraken, but it was one of the longest and most depressing battles of the Clone Wars. An 11-month slog in which everyone, the people of Atraken especially, lost. In this video, we'll be telling its story.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Atraken was an extremely obscure planet in the Outer Rim's Rolion sector, located on the very edge of Separatist space at the start of the Clone Wars. It was a fairly ordinary world with 3 moons, shallow oceans, and mountainous terrain. Atraken had a small population of just 1 million beings, ruled by a guild government based in the planetary capital, Catalan City. The primary industry here was mining, much like the thousands of other backwater worlds in the region, and it's possible that, like with many other local mining worlds, Atraken was dominated by the CIS-aligned Commerce Guild, which had a pretty tight grip on mining in the Outer Rim. Only one thing made Atraken more significant than the hordes of other mining worlds in the region. Its mines were a rich source of Doonium. Doonium was an extremely valuable ore that was essential to the production of capital ship hulls. It's what gave Star Destroyers that distinctive grey-white colour. As you might expect, at the outbreak of the Clone Wars, demand for Doonium skyrocketed, as both the Republic and CIS were attempting to rapidly expand their brand new navies. At the start of the Clone Wars, Atraken fell just within Separatist space, and the Confederacy took control of its Doonium mining operations immediately after the Battle of Geonosis, redirecting all of Atraken's ore shipments to CIS shipyards. But it didn't take long for the Republic to challenge the Confederacy control of Atraken's Doonium mining operation. Just a few days after the Battle of Geonosis, Republic forces arrived in the Catalan system and demanded local CIS protectionist forces withdraw and relinquish the Doonium mines. Obviously, the Seps did no such thing. In preparation for the inevitable Republic assault, they had converted the mines into massive, kilometers-deep fortresses and packed them to the brim with battle droids, daring the Republic to come and try it. In response, the Republic launched a full-scale planetary invasion. So began more than 11 months of bitter, bloody fighting. Most of the exact details of the Battle of Atraken are unknown. The Republic appears to have achieved orbital supremacy at Atraken pretty early on, allowing acclimated-class assault ships to land on the planet's surface and deploy clone troopers by the thousands. But Atraken's local space wasn't uncontested, and at least one side appears to have made use of orbital mines to make naval operations difficult at some point during the battle. We know a little bit more about how things shaped up on the ground. For months, the Confederacy was able to maintain control of their subterranean fortresses, while the planet's surface became bitterly contested between Separatist droid forces and the Grand Army of the Republic. The Confederacy made use of vast numbers of B-1 battle droids, together with Commerce Guild DSD-1 and OG-9 spider droids, while the Republic's clone troopers were supported extensively by Jedi and units from various loyalist militias. We don't know the commanders from either side, but we do know that Major Nick Rostu of Horun Kal fought with the GAR during the later stages of the battle, suggesting that the battle wasn't entirely Jedi-led. For months, the Battle of Atraken was effectively a stalemate. On the one hand, the Confederacy was entrenched deep in the planet's crust and the Republic was unable to flush them out. On the other, the Separatists were unable to dislodge the GAR from their beachheads on the surface. To break this stalemate, both sides turned to increasingly extreme methods. The Republic began this escalation with Operation Katabatic, a series of extremely destructive airstrikes and ground offensives that successfully dislodged CIS forces from several key positions. Operation Katabatic managed to turn the tide of the battle, and from that point forward, the Republic had the advantage. But the Confederacy wouldn't give up that easily. As the Republic began increasingly destructive offensives, the Confederacy began deploying biochemical weapons in a bid to halt the Republic's progress, hoping that these weapons would massacre clone forces while leaving the Confederacy's battle droids unscathed. These weapons ultimately failed to slow the Republic's momentum, however, and slowly but surely, the GAR began to capture Atraken's Doonium Mines. By the 11th month of the Clone Wars in 21 BBY, the Confederacy was finally forced to abandon Atraken. The Republic was victorious, but the victory was a Pyrrhic one. The Battle of Atraken left the entire planet in ruins. The fierce fighting had destroyed virtually every trace of infrastructure on the planet, and tens of thousands of beings had been caught in the crossfire and killed. But it was the biochemical agents unleashed by the Confederacy that did the most damage. These weapons killed large numbers of civilians outright, but to make matters worse, they ended up seeping into Atraken's water table. Even as the Republic began the final push to capture Atraken's mines, the entire planet was rapidly succumbing to the poison. By the time the Republic had driven the last of the Separatists from Atraken, it was uninhabitable. 90% of Atraken's population died in the fighting, and the remaining 100,000 people were rendered refugees. Those who had the money fled to neighboring systems. The remainder fell under the protection of the neutral refugee relief movement, which ultimately helped them settle Trilos, Atraken's lone habitable moon, despite initial trouble with orbital mines preventing access to the moon's surface. Atraken itself was abandoned. Its remaining oceans, the ones that hadn't been boiled away by the fighting, became toxic sludge pools, and the planet's atmosphere became completely unbreathable. Virtually all organic life on Atraken died, leaving only the diehards, an aggressive insect species that was able to feed on the toxic sludge. The Doonium Mines that the battle had fought over were abandoned shortly after the battle's end, as using them became more effort than it was worth thanks to Atraken's ruined biosphere. The Battle of Atraken dispelled many of the myths that both loyalists and separatists constructed to claim they were the good guys. It proved that the Republic couldn't and never intended to fight a clean war with the Confederacy, and that it was as every bit as vicious and callous as the separatist megacorporations when it wanted resources. Even though it was the separatists who ultimately poisoned Atraken, it was the Republic that started the battle to begin with, and the Republic still destroyed plenty of Atraken's infrastructure, killed countless civilians, and refused to withdraw when it became apparent that the battle was going to kill more civilians and loyalist personnel alike than the planet's Doonium was worth. On the other hand, the Battle of Atraken proved that the Confederacy cared far more about its wealth and resources than it did about the independent systems it claimed to defend from Republic tyranny. The CIS actively poisoned a separatist world when it came close to falling into Republic hands. Either they knew that unleashing biochemical weapons would likely kill Atraken and did it anyway, or as some sources suggest, they poisoned the planet on purpose when it became apparent they were losing. In many respects, the Battle of Atraken was a microcosm of the Clone Wars as a whole. Neither the Republic nor the Confederacy cared about the ordinary people of the galaxy, and they proved it on Atraken, where they destroyed the lives of the ones they were supposed to be fighting for. All either side cared about was destroying the other. The Republic just wanted to subjugate those ungrateful rebellious rimworlds, while the Confederacy wanted to suck its people dry of resources and get revenge on the Republic for a mix of real and perceived injustices. On Atraken, they slaughtered each other and the planet's civilian population over Doonium Mines that, in the end, neither of them ended up using. It all underscores the pointlessness of the Clone Wars, how utterly unnecessary all the carnage was. Just as Atraken didn't have to die, the galaxy as a whole didn't have to suffer through the Clone Wars. The Republic could have just let its member worlds exercise their right to self-determination, and the Confederacy could have been content with independence instead of setting their sights on revenge. Much like with the Battle of Atraken, the Clone Wars were needless bloodshed, often done for no reason other than to not let the other guy win, and by the time the war was over, everyone had lost. Remember kids, there's no such thing as winning a war, only surviving it. But what do you think? Are there other obscure Star Wars battles you'd like us to talk about? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.